Are we coming through? It's been a while. Here I am back from maternity leave. This is my first marketing training back in this seat. I've been back in the office for a little while, but excited to be returning to this. It felt like something was missing. So here we are. Now, let's make sure. Can you guys see and hear me okay? Hi, Chris. Hello. I'm so happy that you're here. It's really nice to see you. Um, if you're joining me live, please do say hello in the comments. Sounds like I'm coming through okay, which is excellent. Like I said, just really, really happy to be back here. These marketing trainings, these free trainings are a cornerstone of what we do at Walker Strategy Co. And if this is your first time joining us, maybe you joined in the last couple of months while I've been technically away. Welcome. Everything that we do around here in this Get Booked Out group and at Walker Strategy Co. is about helping you market yourself in a way that feels authentic to you, but that is also effective. We really pride ourselves on staying in touch with what's working when it comes to practice marketing, recognizing when things are changing, being honest about that. And just yeah, just trying to keep you up to date on what can actually work. There is nothing I love more than hearing from you guys that you're getting clients, whether that's using these free trainings or enrolling in one of our programs or using one of our templates or hiring us, whatever that looks like. I just love getting to see you be successful. So that's what we're about around here. Thank you so much, Kim. I'm really happy you guys you're joining in. We're talking about a really fun topic, and it's been a long time coming. I can't believe it took so long to talk about this one. Thank you to I didn't even note who it was, but I asked for topics for these trainings, and someone was like micro niching. Duh, we need to be talking about this, especially in just where we're kind of at with the market right now. So we're talking about micro niching and this marketing sort of powerhouse that you can be leveraging in your marketing. It's a bit different as far as getting these clients than our standard kind of traditional clients. And so that's really what we're going to be diving into today here. I want you to understand as you walk away kind of what micro niches are and how they fit into your other marketing, because it might feel like you're sort of wedging in this micro niche. What they are, right? That's going to be important. The thing that you really can't forget if you're going to use this strategy and to sort of just make sure we have expectations clear on how this is going to work and where clients are going to come from when it comes to this niche and how to get those clients because it could, like I said, be a little bit different than what you might be used to. The beauty of you being here live, if you are here live, is that you get to ask questions. So please do say hello in the comments and post any questions you have as I'm going through this training. If you're catching the replay, awesome. Put a hashtag replay for me in the comments right now. And that will make sure that I'm alerted to any questions that you might have. The cool thing about these trainings is they stick around. I still answer questions on trainings from 2020. So if you're watching this and it's 2027, hi, happy you're here. Happy to answer questions. Wonderful. Hello, good to see you, Ellie. Hi, Lori. All right, so let's, without further ado, get into this. What is a micro niche? Hi, hello, that would be nice to know. A micro niche is a term that we use to describe an ultra specific population or an ultra specific problem that you help solve. So, an ultra specific population that you serve in your practice or an ultra specific problem that you help solve. Generally, your micro niche comes out of lived experience. Not always, but sometimes. And a micro niche is different from a normal niche in that a micro niche sort of fits under your other niche. It's marketed alongside your other specialties. So we're not talking about narrowing your entire practice into this ultra specific population or problem, but instead we're adding this on as sort of an additional service or a specific service you offer in addition to the anxiety or the trauma or whatever work that you do. So that's what we refer to. So micro, small, right, and also happening in addition to the other specialties you have on board. So some examples of this. I actually was preparing for this training and kicked off with one of our WSC studio clients. Those are our done for you clients. Kicked off with one of those this morning, and she specializes in female veterans. She herself is a female veteran. And that is a very, very specific population with a very specific set of needs, right? Some other examples, entrepreneurs, law enforcement spouses. You might know Audrey Shane, a good friend of mine who specializes in that. Particular medical diagnoses. We've written copy for type 1 diabetes. There's a clinician right now in Confident Copy who specializes in Parkinson's, or their caregivers. Another, Ellie, hello, veterinary professionals or those in the kind of the animal welfare industry, people in that space, educators, that can be another kind of group. And so these are some of the really specific things that these folks can specialize in. I'm curious, as you're sitting here and maybe you're joining me live, what comes up for you as far as micro niches? Are there specific populations or problems that you love to help solve? The cool thing about a micro niche is that you can just call it what it is. You don't necessarily have to do a whole lot of market research. We don't have to know how many people are looking for this on Google, because chances are, if you know enough about this, you know that there's a need that's going to be met. Now, this isn't going to be your entire caseload. If it were, then we would niche your entire practice around it. But it can be a really nice complement to your niche, or I'm sorry, to your caseload, and a different way of marketing where you get to bring in a particular type of group that you really love. Yeah, so Ellie already mentioned hers. She is a Confident Copy student of ours who specializes in those kind of animal welfare, those in the animal welfare industry, veterinary professionals, things like that. So why do a micro niche? What's the point? Well, in this market, and things have changed a lot even the last 10 months. Here we are on the last day of October. 2024 has been really interesting. In this market right now, people are looking for an expert. If people are going to hand over your full fee, your 150, 200, whatever it might be an hour, particularly in the private pay space, but this is applicable to insurance as well. They want to know you get it. You get it. And they are not going to have to sit down and explain themselves they're not going to have to educate their therapist, right, about their experience. And so by specializing in something very, very specific, you become inherently more valuable to those people because you're speaking so specifically to them. So it's not just professionals in general, it's educators. It's not just people with chronic illness, it's type 1 diabetes. If I was someone navigating life with type 1 diabetes or just receiving a diagnosis and I'm looking for someone to process this with, yeah, someone who specializes in chronic illness might be interesting, but you're talking specifically to me, you're calling out my particular problems, who's going to win out? I'm certainly, some decisions are going to be made with my wallet, but you're going to be inherently more valuable because of your deep expertise in a particular area. And so it makes you, either your practice as a whole or just you as a clinician, a destination for something. People look to you for this. You become known in this space. And the interesting thing about this is that it automatically opens up brand new networking opportunities you wouldn't have otherwise. So if you specialize in just anxiety, you and I both know that knocking on the door of a physician to, hand them your business card is probably not going to be the most effective strategy. If instead you specialize in veterinary professionals and you can offer to do a workshop at your local vet clinic, you're going to be a lot more compelling to those folks than just any old therapist versus a therapist that specializes in the people in that building. And so it offers you really, really targeted marketing and networking opportunities that more general specialties don't allow you to kind of step into. The other thing, and what I'm going to talk to you next, is what to do if you want to sort of launch a micro niche, but they're pretty low effort. To add on a micro niche doesn't really take a whole lot. We're going to talk about creating a really, really great page for those folks and thinking about some creative networking opportunities, but it's not like you need to go seek out another certification. You just get to say, hey, this group of people, this ideal client, I know you deeply. Here's how, and here's how I can help. Pretty low effort. And so I think it's a great addition for lots of folks. One of the other reasons we really do love micro niches is because of how much your clients are wanting to sit down with an expert. There's a lot more potential opportunity Google wise and just kind of locally in your area, carving out that niche. 10 years ago, someone who specializes in something so specific, entrepreneurs might have been like, yeah, cool. We don't need that. People value that now. People are actually looking for specific services. They're typing in therapy for entrepreneurs more often than they used to be. Whereas ranking on Google for therapy for anxiety is very, very difficult, especially in really saturated areas. And so it's lending you a little bit of strength there to stand out. Now you're standing out to a smaller group of people, but you're standing out more often, and that can serve you really well in your marketing. All right, so a couple people, let's see, April, there are a couple things that you've thought of. One is people coming out of grad school and into their new job. Certainly that transition. I mean, imagine the networking you could do there and who you could be talking to, grad schools, things like that. That's really interesting. Lori, women with breast cancer. I'm not sure about private pay on this. I hear you on the private pay piece, but there are women out there who are navigating breast cancer and can pay your full fee, Lori. There are. I can confidently say that. Chris says performance anxiety, specifically ambitious, career-driven New Yorkers. Performance anxiety is, yeah, especially if you are speaking to people who are, like maybe in leadership positions or having to, get up and lead meetings and things like that. We're offering some really, really cool, specific ways to be getting in front of these people and also to be talking to them in your marketing. So these are great. I welcome other ideas because I'm always on the lookout for some new micro niches. All right, let's talk about how to get micro niche clients. This is not as simple as I'm nothing about marketing right now. Your private practice is simple, but this isn't as simple as putting it up on your website and hoping people find you and just kind of letting that happen. Getting micro niche clients is going to take some more active effort. But you know what we've seen the last 10 months? All marketing right now takes a lot more effort. That's why we think that micro niches are such a nice addition because the effort put into marketing a micro niche tends to have greater returns more readily than marketing a more general specialty. And so doing both alongside one another is it's like snowballing your marketing effectiveness in our experience and in kind of what we're seeing. So you are at least early on most likely to get your micro niche clients from networking. That's going to be the biggest piece. In terms of Google, it could get stronger over time. Like I said, as people look for more and more specific therapies and realize that there are people that do what you do. But early on, it is going to be a networking primarily channel for you. So you've got to have the appetite for that and the expectation for that if you want to stand up a micro niche effectively. And as I shared earlier, this is a micro niche and not your general niche because it's unlikely to be your entire caseload. So even if this is perhaps a more acute, your micro niche is maybe a little bit more acute or working with people who have a higher level of care, it's going to be kind of a smaller portion. And so just keep that in mind when you're considering who to speak to and how to get those clients. So first and foremost, I mean, if you've been around here for a while, you know that your words are the number one determining factor in your marketing. And so we got to put some words to this micro niche. So you got to choose a name for it. It's probably going to be the name of the population, entrepreneurs, the name of the problem, type 1 diabetes, whatever. And then I want you to write a super, super specific, targeted, like juicy, we call it sticky page on your website where you get so laser focused on this experience and you display such deep, deep understanding of what this person is going through that they cannot help but feel seen by you before they even talk to you. This copy, if you haven't heard me use the word sticky copy, my confident copy students here are like, oh yeah, all the time. And you say it all the time. Sticky copy are those examples that someone can see themselves in that just show that you are in their head. I'm an entrepreneur, so I'll use that as an example. Your laptop coming with you to places it shouldn't. You waking up in the middle of the night and feeling like you need to, write down your latest idea or whatever. Those are the types of sticky examples where someone's going to be like, you got me, and that's where someone is like, okay, you obviously understand. So that's the first thing I want you to do is I want you to create a distinct separate page for this micro niche. Don't worry yet about how it's going to fall into the rest of your marketing. Just create a page specific to this so that if I landed on your website and I hovered over specialties, there was a page that was specific to me and where I could read about that micro niche. Then I want you to begin engaging in networking. I want you to brainstorm who you can be getting in front of that is super relevant to this ideal client for your micro niche. And in some ways that might just be regular old kind of relationship building, like traditional networking, right? Where you reach out, you display some level of curiosity and interest in someone, you form a connection and let them know you offer this. Other times you might want to engage a little bit further. I referenced the idea of like walking into a vet clinic and offering a workshop. A free workshop at a vet clinic on managing the trauma of what it means to be a veterinary professional, you're going to get some butts in seats for that. A Confident Copy student recently shared that he's begun offering workshops in his area of expertise, which is sports performance. And he says every workshop he does, he'll get at least one or two calls after those. Someone who's like, oh, I didn't realize there was a therapist who did this. That's the experience we want to be creating in the micro niche kind of space. So start getting creative and brainstorming who is running into your ideal client for this service. Who is a diabetes specialist? I've heard of a micro niche around like dementia or Alzheimer's. What memory care centers could you be speaking to in order to connect with caregivers and support them there? So it does, you can see like the opportunities for getting in front of people. People are so much more likely to listen to you when it comes to, kind of you reaching out when you have something really specific and relevant to offer them. Um, the other thing that I want you to do, and one of the common questions I get around micro niches is like, well, what if my niche doesn't fit the rest of my specialties, right? What if I specialize in anxiety, but then I have this random kind of, population? I'm not super concerned about that. Here's why. Because most of your micro niche clients are going to come from networking. If you imagine that I specialize in entrepreneurs, and my friend Sam is talking to a client that says, go see Anna. She specializes in entrepreneurs. I'm going to go to Anna's website and I'm going to look for it. I'm already going to know kind of going in that Anna specializes in it. You're not going to be, experiencing as much like someone just Googling therapist in Nashville, landing on my website and like, oh, you happen to specialize in entrepreneurs. Interesting. People are going to be coming to you a lot more directly. And so there's sort of some more momentum behind them to get to that page on your website. We don't have to do quite as much kind of massaging and convincing or guiding them to get to that page as we do when someone's like, I heard you specialize in entrepreneurs. I'm here for that. One thing, however, that you can do if you're adding a micro niche to kind of some more general marketing is I would suggest if I were writing your website for you or designing it for you, I would add a section to your homepage. And it'd probably be lower if you use one of our templates. I'd probably place it maybe right above or below the specialties section, where you just call that group out. Are you an entrepreneur? It could be that simple. In addition to my other specialties, I also have deep expertise at serving entrepreneurs and love to carve out a space where they feel supported and like they are understood. Click here to learn more and lead over to the specialty page. And so it might feel like you're like kind of throwing a wrench into the journey, but you're calling it out. So I would recommend some sort of call out in that homepage if it doesn't already sort of fold into your general messaging, where those folks can at least be kind of, aha, that's me, and then navigate to that page from there. So calling it out, but don't feel like you have to shoehorn it into the rest of your messaging, and definitely don't feel like you have to water down your website just to make the micro niche fit. It can sort of be an add-on, like a little bolt-on to the rest of your marketing if you need it to be. So that's kind of what I would suggest there. All right. Looks like we have some good questions. So if you have questions on this process, let me know. But I want to remind you, there's not a whole lot to lose here. If you can write a new page on your website, brainstorm some creative networking opportunities and give it a shot, what's the worst thing that could happen? You get some really, really targeted specific clients you enjoy working with. It's a strategy we have seen really, really serve clients, including, private pay only, definitely, in the last little bit, because like I said, people are looking for an expert. You display that level of expertise, you're more valuable. They're more likely to say, I don't care what it takes. I don't care that you don't take my insurance. You obviously get it. It's about helping people feel deeply, deeply seen with your marketing and getting to work with a population that you already really, really love and are likely very passionate about. Alrighty, let's see. Kim said, I specialize in executive therapy. Would executives or professionals leaving the corporate world be a niche? Definitely, Kim. Executive therapy, executive professionals leaving the corporate world. I'm trying to think of like what type of networking opportunities you could engage in there. I'm not in the corporate world, and so I might not be the best person to ask. But I would imagine there are some communities of like later stage executives that you could likely be connecting with. Um, Yeah. I'm going to brainstorm on that one a little bit more, Kim. Um, the other thing that's really cool about micro niches that I didn't mention is the networks for these groups are usually very, very tight. The worlds are small. So all of a sudden, someone knows that you're the specialist for veterinary professionals. Guess who they're going to talk about? They're going to talk about you to their colleagues. And so that's another way that sort of the marketing can snowball here. That once one person knows that you're the destination for this, they're connected to a bunch of other people in this circle, most likely that they can also be referring you to. So that's one of the other cool things we've seen happen in the micro niche space, and that's where I think that could really serve you well, Kim. You get in with one or two former executives that are still, still have buddies in the workplace, that kind of thing. They can be sharing your name, and so you can sort of be accessing other people's networks in that way without, a whole lot of effort on your part. Let's see. Yeah, Ellie said I did a workshop for animal welfare group. I got a contract for ongoing support services. Hello, amazing, right? You go show how much you know your stuff, and people are like, I didn't know there was a therapist who did this. I'm so grateful. That's excellent. Lorraine said, what would that person have on their website in that example for the people Googling? Like, what would the larger niche be? Um, Lorraine, what would that person have on their website in that example for the people Googling? That, Lauren, that can totally depend. It looks like Chris gave a good example. Your general niche can be sort of anything, right? And if you haven't taken our niche quiz yet, walkerstrategyco.com/niche-quiz, that can help you kind of define it. But maybe you work with professional women or something like that. So it could be that, or maybe you specialize in, kind of going beyond traditional talk therapy. Those would be examples of more general niches. And then that micro niche could, like I said, sort of be a bolt on underneath that. All right, April, you asked a good question. How many micro niches are too many? I'm a social worker and I've worked in so many different realms from end of life to suicidal teens. That is one thing I meant to mention and I didn't have in my notes. So thank you. We want to be careful about the number of micro niches that are included, because there is sort of an effect we can create if we list out too many where it feels watered down. Despite the niches being specific, the number of them can sort of be like, well, how can you be an expert in all of them? And so I would say 1 to 2 max would be the best there, April. Now, if we're getting into kind of some specific strategy, this would be like the type of coaching I would offer in Confident Copy, which is our marketing mentorship program. But say, April, your niche was teens, kids and teens. Then I think 2 micro niches that fall under that, suicidal teens, and then maybe teens end of life, which that would be a really tough one. But if they fit underneath your general, if they're your general niche, if they're not just a bolt on, then I think you can benefit from maybe a handful of them. But if they are particularly distinct from your main marketing, that's where I would recommend keeping that list to 1 or maybe 2, so as not to kind of water down your expertise. Yeah. Alrighty. I hope this was helpful for you and kind of got your gears turning. Like I said, there's not a whole lot to lose here. You know that there's a need out there for a population that you serve. I am confident in that. Kim, we know that there are executives leaving the workplace for sure. Ellie knows that there are people in animal welfare who are struggling with the trauma of the work that they do. There's more entrepreneurs than there have ever been, right? The need is out there for these groups. And they might just be right now looking for therapy for anxiety because they don't realize that you exist. And so a micro niche is simply letting them know you're there and then getting in front of them. And so it's going to require a little bit more creativity maybe than you're used to. But it's going to open up some richer and more specific networking opportunities that maybe you've struggled to have in the past with some more general specialties. So I hope your gears are turning. Keep us updated. I want to know what micro niches you're trying out, what's working for you. And we'll continue to stay in touch on this strategy. Certainly, if we have updates, maybe I'll do another training to share with you what we're learning. But I want to encourage you to try out this strategy to keep us updated and hopefully to start attracting some clients that you really, really enjoy. Alrighty, I appreciate you guys. I hope this was helpful, and I will see you on our next training.